everybody, and welcome to week 1 broadcast of Aurora Series, week 2 of the Spring 2025 League's action. My name is Zoe, and I'm joined by the amazing Ancient Angel to call this week's action. Angel, how are you feeling, and what two teams do we have lined up for tonight's broadcast?
I'm feeling pretty good, right? It's the first official stream back here for Aurora Series Valorant in winter of 2025, and we're coming in with two teams that are honestly they're looking for a run into the playoffs here. These are two teams that are expected, to be nearing the top of their group, or at least, even making a deep run, right? You have UCSD and St. Clair, and both of these teams, they've gone through a couple changes in the offseason, and I think they've been for the better. And so it's going to be interesting to see, now that we're in a new semester and teams have started to find their footing a little bit, how these two fare off in this group stage.
No, for sure, right? SCC last season, a top 4 team. UCSD Navy, a team that I want to say very narrowly got snubbed playoffs, actually, after being, our premier season of Aurora Series, when it was the weekend tournaments over the league format, was a deep run team consistently, faring with the best of the best, like at the time, the University of North Texas. But I completely agree with you, right? I feel like UCSC Navy's had more of a consistent roster, but SCC went over major trialing where they were accepting players from all over the States and Canada, and then they finally solidified on 5 that worked for them. So I'm curious to see how that system has built a new and stronger team.
It's going to be interesting, especially when we talk about maps coming into this. We are on the tail end of the, what I'm going to call the old map pool.
Oh, it's me. I am the map pool.
You're all 7 of the maps.
I am the map pool, as I said. Yeah. Yes. So let me get you that map pool ASAP. There we go.
No bind. And there's no Pearl. Instead, we have Lotus and we have Haven, both of the 3 site maps being picked by both of these teams. And we're going to end things off, if we need to, on Split. And that... So tell us how we got to this position.
Oh my gosh.
Leader of the map pool.
I'm trying to not laugh it up a storm. First things first. I'm actually kind of like, the Pearl ban makes sense, one of the newer entering the pool. Same with Fraction Abyss. I'm surprised they were even floated through the first round. I guess UCSD just does not like bind, which I can relate to with my team and how we just think right now in the current meta, it provides a lot of disjunction of rules that like players might match up to. Lotus Haven at this point, yes, they're the 3-site maps, but they become collegiate go-tos even for my squad that's playing in Aurora this semester. And then Split's kind of that safe bet. Like I said, Fracture and Abyss, like some teams are really, really good at them. They're kind of like hit or miss. So throwing those out as well keeps it, I think, to, again, teams that they should know how to play these maps with or without their roster changes.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is when we're talking about the GC scene as a whole, there's kind of 2 styles of teams, which is there's teams that are very, very protocol heavy, and those teams will actually traditionally really prefer a map like Haven, and then there are teams where it's more about, individual playmaking and interpersonal synergy within the team, and those teams tend to prefer Lotus. So it's going to be interesting to see if that is how USD chooses to play on their map pick of Lotus, if we're going to see some individual plays, potentially see some of those, 2-player holds, crossfires on that A side of defense. If we're going to see, a C-site anchor go crazy, and then it's going to be interesting to see what this St. Clair squad looks like, how they've rejuvenated their Haven, especially because the big difference between last season and this season, it's that meta change, right? We're seeing Tejo added in to this agent pool.
If we're going to see Tejo anywhere, in my opinion, though, it's going to be Split and Lotus, not Haven, actually. I think Haven, you talked about the meta change, it's more the departure away from kind of the Neon, Yoru, and ISO duelists back to the basics. That's like the one map that's reverted in the new meta. And I do think as well, Lotus is one of those maps that also has changed kind of in the meta a little bit. You might see the Vice instead of kind of your Cypher and your Killjoy, but I do think particularly Collegiate Game Changers is also a team that they do try to cater to their agent or their player kind of strength. So let's go ahead and take a look and see which way these two teams are leaning. New versus old meta, SCC versus UCSD, and we already are starting to get some answers here and maybe some memery out of SCC.
If St. Clair actually lock in an Omen Clove, I'll be astonished.
No, that's normal. That's actually, I do think they would run that. And
with a Jet though?
Jet maybe, because I don't know if Lena's like go-to Raze player. I think more the double controller is one of those I think that's been going, especially in the tier 2 kind of tier 2.5 space. And what we're seeing is, and this was something I wanted to mention when you talked about meta changes, is that on Lotus in particular, we're starting to see it weirdly be defense sided, even though it's an attack sided map, because teams are picking compositions that so heavily favor the defense to try and kind of outbalance that. And this is the result that we're getting.
Yeah, it's another big advantage to running these double orb smokes that you see a lot on maps like Lotus and Abyss, where teams are so forced into retaking time and time again. It's really important to try and just have as many smokes as possible, especially on a map like Lotus, right? Where you think about retaking the B site, you have to worry about B main, you have to worry about, you know, breakable door. You're going to have to, you know, if you want to try and make a play to, you know, ice out some of those the attackers that are holding in the post plant from B main, you're going to want to kind of use your smokes a little creatively. So it does make sense that we're seeing the double orb smokes. It's going to be interesting to see, though, how SCC chooses to play, considering the most information they're getting is from that Cypher. And I did notice what was just locked in by UCSD, so we're going to have to talk about that
Not about UCSD, I'm talking about SCC. Did you see the ISO Neon? And the Tejo, like,
I had
both
names swapped.
No, you're good. Both teams definitely like are going new meta in very different ways, right? You have a team that feels hyper aggressive with the Tejo, Neon, ISO, which I'm not against. I do think when you talk about Lotus defense and like the aggressive nature of claiming and reclearing space, SCC has that covered. But like I mentioned, then it's complete opposite on the side of UCSD Navy, where they're going with this double controller, which is another adaptation we've seen in the current meta. When you have a really strong Clove player, and second, like I said, it kind of overcompensates on defense when you have double smokes. So curious definitely to see which one's going to work out better for which side.
Yeah, it's something I also want to see, especially when it comes time for that half swap, is what does the attacking protocols look like for SCC? How do they look on their executes? Is all the utility going where it needs to go to effectively clear out a site? Those are questions that are remaining to be answered. For now, it's the start of this best of 3 in the group stage, St. Clair versus UCSD, and UCSD starting on that attack with that double smoke.
Oh, and I like this. Just early stun, you know, kind of fizzle out any aggression. And this is also what you're going to see consistently. This one way over towards C when you have kind of double smokes to work with. This is what I did like, was kind of like, you don't need a breach. You don't need anything, because the tail molly set up your neon, set up your ice on this aggressive A main space to shut down any lurks. So clear identification from UCSD to avoid A main for the time being when there's just pistols, and go for a start exec into the C site.
Who needs a lurk when you can just run down the site? Trapwire triggered, but Abby needs to leave that C site. Does not want to get swarmed away. Instead, there's going to be that plant by Doggio. By Marsley instead. It's just going to be the salvos. Jen taking down Maya, Lena, and Jen will continue to find frags. And Kumi gets to join in through main, and now Marsley trying to enter out alongside Oppie. They both find one, and that leaves Lena alone in the swing by Oppie.
Wow. I mean, what did I say? When you have a strong Clove player, everything kind of falls into place there, and Oppie, you know, gets the pick-me-up, finds the final frag. And I did like UCSD's idea there, right? Get the spike down, pushed into CT, try and deny any retake ability, especially when I like how SCC played that, right? Abby trying to play for their kill trip, and then they get off-site. And that's as well something you're going to consistently see is a squad that maybe, you know, is going away from having a Sentinel live by the site, die by the site, and they have to be more comfortable with giving up that space and playing retake with their team, which is exactly what we just saw. So SCC on the board first here. UCSD maybe go for a little bit more of a slower defaulted approach for this eco, see if they can make sure they punish any mistakes out of SCC with these weapons in hand.
Yeah, speaking of those weapons, I really want to see what value they're going to be able to find from these sheriffs, right? They did have a couple bought in, Jen being one, Lena being the other. So I want to see if you can, you know, potentially find some headshots with some value. There's a bunch of space being taken over by A.
Ooh.
Maya might be looking to try and flank early.
Yeah, but weapons, it's smart. You get the lurk player out of the way, but with only 20 HP, that's a pretty good trade-off, I'll say. Now your Neon's going to be weak on a retake. Speaking of those retakes, and they found the opening on the C site, right? Your Sentinel saving, trying to go for maybe a Vandal third round. Interesting crosshair, but Oppie has the hero Vandal. Could punish Lena, could punish Danny here, who are looking to get aggressive into Waterfall off this paranoia that I think is going to be misplaced.
Oh, a little this time, but the shots, They actually trade out 1-for-1 as Doggy gets that kill, but look at this lurk from Jen
Jen?
on this flank. Spins around, finds the first onto Oppie, swaps to the Spectre, gets taken out by Riv. And now it's that 1v2 Doggy trying to do the most. The flash is mistimed, and Marsley swings around. And it got scary there for SCC, but they are able to convert the anti-eco.
No, for sure, and you can see that, right? They're delaying the spike defuse just to recover that weapon that Oppie did have in hand, and I mean, if Riv did not have Marsley's back there, this could have gone very differently in a 1v1 situation for SCC, but regardless, UCSD probably proud of what they were able to accomplish during that eco. Here we go. Now, kind of a half buy-up situation. I talked about you're going to buy up a Vandal no matter what if you're Abby after going for that Deagle hold on the C site. You carry over the Vandal, hand it back to Oppie. Maybe even force up a third here with the regen shield for Riv. Interesting. Okay, I was about to say, I don't like the 3 Vandal. I like the 2, you know, and that's what they're going to do. Try and make sure they can buy for the next round and see if they can do some damage on UCSD's first buy round.
I like this side special. Gives them so much value and information, but UCSD not deterred. They push past mound and they're onto the site already. Trips broken and rotations pulled. Have Oppie sitting in CT waiting.
Yeah, I mean, the barrel overstep, the trade to follow. I mean, UCSD always getting aggressive here in the post plants on the C side. While SCC is usually confident in their retakes here on C, the weapon differential starting to show that impact, and Marsley, not much you can do here. Just wait for the players to swarm you, hope for a kill that isn't going to come. So UCSD, rifle round first hit on the board, and I mean, nicely done if I have to say so.
Yeah, it's also considering the fact that for UCSD, they're just sticking to the C-site hit, and it's working, right? It's a little unfortunate how Oppie's able to find that first pick, but the trade was immediately there from Jen. They snowball that to a excellent control of that C-site. Kumi comes in at the perfect time to kind of quell down that flank that was happening from Maya and from Marsley. So you get that out of the way, and now you get to go into this full gun round and get to shake things up a little bit.
Well, this is the first time I think we're going to see UCSD maybe try to challenge this A main hold, and interestingly enough, this is the first time SCC has truly given up this space super early. I was expecting maybe a Dodgio rolling thunder here to counter the space, but they're just going to swing through the dark cover. They heard the high gear away from this control, and I think SCC gave it up way too early because now Rip's on an island. Yes, you've got the double tap, but when there's multiple players, that's not enough to sustain you. And now Marsley's been, you know, cloudburst, caged off, can't really find anything here, so it's going to be a free plant, a free site for UCSD. Lena taking deeper space, deeper control, and they even now have a post-plant strategy of this rolling thunder. You can see it, right? The breach falling off, playing from tree here. This is going to be a really hard retake when you're also down players for SCC.
Oh, and Dodgia finding onto Marsley. Lena still finding frags towards heaven as well, and now it's Oppie 1 versus 5 in order to get this done. Has no reason not to start to look for kills. Finds a second, gets the third as well. Surely not. Surely it doesn't happen like this. Time continues to tick away. Smoke needs to be applied to the bomb, and that ruse does go down.
Pros don't fake.
Just get to stick. There's no faking yet. You were blinded up, but the swing from Lena is at the perfect time. And while the 3 kills were exciting, UCSD's grip on that round does not fall through.
Yeah, just unfortunate that kind of situation. You can't use the not dead yet because that second opportunity could have been everything there. But again, we talked about how easily UCSD was able to get that A main space. So they still had so much utility to work with, like that paranoia from Danny. And that's what kind of prevented the stick all the way. They get off at half, and I mean, the trade and the smoke would have come through regardless when it's a 180 swivel. So 2-2 here, a little bit tied up. The eco for SCC, a little crazy. So the plan's going to get even crazier here. Hero rifle carried forward for Oppie. The pressure early towards Pillar. I like the Tejo guided salvos kind of faking out that like they didn't claim a main space. There's no point in really holding for the B push out either. They're solely trusting in that trap wire. Oh, but now they've definitely heard the dash out A. They can probably combo their team, and you can see the group up, the rotation following suit as the drone confirms what they already had inklings of. Smokes have gone in to try and fight, but unfortunately, no real control to be maintained for SCC. They're looking to just all 5 flood retake.
still needs to go down. There we go. And he's got it. And
Yep.
salvos. Ooh, if it wasn't for that teleport, it would have gotten rocky. But Lena's able to trade out Lena. So overdrive only finding the first. And now this 4-player hold in towards Tree. It's being traded out one
They
for
haven't
one.
gotten Spike down.
No plant, and they're all stuck in this tiny area. Dodgio just trying to spam through, but nothing goes their way. They have to try and leave. They need to make a last-ditch effort to try and rotate off, and Abby dies. This could be the opening. They can't recommit. It's a full run. It's a sprint away. And
They don't even have Omen ult here. They're gambling that this is a C hit, but there's no time to go C. They have to go B. I don't think the guided salvos will come online in time, but Marsley might be in a good position regardless of smoke. Not covering top site. Covers default, goes for the plant. The salvos were online, but I don't think they covered the plant location. So Oppie, not dead yet, comes back in. 2 players a lick away from death here. Just trying to vie out this timer with the dark cover. And it feels like Oppie finds the kill to stay alive. Do you invest the Rolling Thunder here? You do!
Have to. So Doggio's bought a little bit of time. It allows this lurk from Jen to be just that more powerful, but you have to take the time and you run in, but Oppie's off. You use the not dead yet. 4 in the round for Oppie as Jen goes huge, but the time, it just forces all evil, and it's a thrifty ace. 5 kills for Oppie to get a third.
And I mean, Thrifty A sums up that round to a T, right? They had the stack. I loved the idea to just reflood before the plant goes down, right? Because once the plant goes down, that not dead yet's no longer in the equation. You had the overdrive perfectly to keep them corralled in a tree there. And what I really loved additionally was that Oppie not only was fighting the frags, not only is 13-4, mind you, but then their ruse, right, their smoke there on tree allowed Marsley to get a weapon, right? So they could try to pivot, have weapons to cut off that rotate, to play the timer down. And Marsley as well, mastery over the regeneration of the guided salvos. Yes, they went a little awry on the B side, but it still splintered the players to allow them those 1v1s in a 2v3 scenario where, again, HP was against UCSD, but the player count was not. So here we go. This is something I did like to see here, and I did want to see, I should say. UCSD default and spread it out a little bit. Well, SCC gets aggressive C mound, right? They started faltering on the post plants perhaps a little bit. So what are they going to do? Take that space early. But speaking of space elsewhere, they've gotten kills everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there's a trade there from Maya, but still 4v3, you have absolutely no bodies over towards this A side of the map. So this 3v4 retake, you really have to rely on these duelists to get something done, to find an opening. I mean, obviously, you also have Oppie, who has gone nuclear thus far. 13 kills in 5 rounds. Dodgio gets the hold, blows Maya's head clean off. And at this point, 2v4, Oppie, it's another miracle needed, and you find the first. So 2v3 now, as this retake gets started.
Yeah, and they don't want to challenge the one-way drop. This is, again, the difficulties of those double smokes. Again, maybe going for a start defuse. Riv at their side, Aftershock whittled away. The paranoia, and this is, again, what I mentioned from UCSD. They find these kills off of contact and contact alone. So there's so much utility online that you cannot stick the spike like this the way that SCC has tried time and time again. Silver lining here is that it's still 3-3, and you found both of the UCSD players by death by spike, but still, I mean, they're the ones with money to spare. SCC, right? Like, I feel like Oppie is only propelled for these hero rifles because they have the, you know, the heal, and because they are 15-5. So you literally are, like, your strat right now, I agree, feels very heavily around Oppie, and I mean, they've delivered before, but they can't deliver every time.
No, I mean, let it be known, right? There's an interesting stat to look at, which is kills per round 1. And,
oh no.
You know, there's technically like
5.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's technically a bunch of math that goes into that, but like if you just do the eye test, that's 5 kills per round 1 from the side of Oppie. So I think we know what St. Clair's current win condition is, but in order for there to be something different, you're gonna have to hope for one of these other players to just step up in the firepower department. Like, for example, Abby, who's going to be on the receiving end of this defense.
Oh. And Oppie, I said they can't deliver every time, but they deliver on the first. Take out that lurk player. Has been a nice precondition for SCC that's now been met. I was gonna say, this is interesting though. They don't vacate this A site. Abby already here holding this space, establishing there was no backside control taken. You talked about Abby in that 15, or say Arpie in that 15-5 KDA. Well, now they're not dead yet, and they're on for another 4K. They should know Lina was confirmed in tree, and now the guided sound, they're only forcing the issue.
1v3. Got a lot to do. You find the first. This is something. Still alive. Swing out just to try and bait, but Marsley just gets the stick for free. There is nothing you can do. Oppie, 4K to close out this round. So that's what, 19 in total now? Oh my god.
I mean, okay, I know I said they couldn't do it every round, but they're trying to make me sound like a liar right now, Angel. Like, that was clean. I mean, yes, they had to use the not dead yet because the early fight didn't go their way, trying to keep Abby alive, but when they come back to life, it's enough of a distraction to keep those backside players, keep that backside control. So what it definitely feels like is that when SCC is at the site, either before or as the spike is getting planted with numbers, that is an early win con for them. This is gonna get spicy though. Finally an eco for UCSD. Lina solo swings and they don't realize there's two tucked away B main, and they're still holding on to this space.
Really gonna use that contingency to get right on out of there. Doesn't want to give too much away, and this is also the first time now that we're seeing UCSD on the back foot in the middle of this half, right? Obviously they lost the pistol round, but this economically is going to be interesting because for SEC, this is, you know, the full buy all the bells and whistles. So, you know, they've burned quite a lot of utility. No real advantage gained. What can they find here? Well, Jet over the head. Lina as well.
One enemy remaining.
1v5.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Deagle in hand. Flawless round. Anti-eco against UCSD. And I do want to point out as well, that's like the first round that, even though it wasn't out the gate, but it still happened, that UCSD challenged that mound hold from SCC that they've been holding up for, I want to say, 2 or 3 rounds now. So now they know it's a factor. It's not going to have that novelty effect. Now they can use that utility, that proactivity to clear out that space. But, I mean, Oppie 21-6. I'm curious if Oppie is the sub in this situation, because I think that was a factor here as well, was that SCC had to find an emergency sub for this evening. And if we're talking about super subs, Oppie's got to be #1 on that leaderboard at the moment.
Confirmed. Oppie is not a sub.
They're not. Ooh, okay.
So Oppie is here to stay in this roster. And considering this is the performance you're giving, I think you're proving why you're a starter on this roster. Like that. Just find another opening pick, why don't you? He's down off the board here.
Oh
But
no!
Oppie through smokes, through it all, finds another, and sure, Danny's able to respond with 2 and Doggio for 1, but that only just equalizes the numbers, and Riv looks to try and get a little active here off the info that Marzi was able to provide. After that goes through, Riv tries to swing, it doesn't work. Danny still on for more. Marsley at only 50 HP has to go huge, climbing through the smoke, taken onto Doggio, now 1v1, 6 bullets left to try and clutch, try and grab a 6th, and the flick is good. SCC, you can't be stopped. If it's not Oppie, then Marsley is there.
Clutch.
There it is. 3+ seconds to spare. The clutch defuse comes through. And at first, to me, I feel like the Armageddon didn't have too much of an impact because of UCSD's tendency to take deeper CT space, but it truly splintered those players. It didn't allow them to get off site, which has been a good win con for them, right? To kind of funnel that aftershock, that paranoia into the really late stages of the round, so they can't strong hand their way back into the site. They can't get on the bomb. And what did you see, right? Stuck in Ben, the aftershock comes out early from Doggio, the paranoia comes out early from Danny, and then they're left to the 1v1 where it's only weapons and low HP. And SCC comes out on top. So here we go. A bit of, again, an eco this time for UCSD. Lots of ults to work with this time, and they're challenging the mountain control out the gate, just dry, and UCSD claims that space with SCC respecting it.
You know what, you can take Mound, but Doggio cares not about Rubble. just runs on out, catches Mia off guard, and now for Marjorie, has to use that drone, try and find a little bit of info, potentially delay by time to rotate into place. While they do that, the Blade Storm has run out.
I'm surprised. I mean, it makes sense Riv doesn't want to waste the death contract on... Okay, thank you. I was about to say, I was like, why did they use it earlier when Spike was going down? But now here it comes. Yuumi dealt with really quickly. I mean, they didn't have a weapon to fight back against that here. But this is where I said UCSD thrives, when they have these really developed post-plant positions. Danny, though, oversteps. Again, you have Rolling Thunder, you had your Clove on alert, but now they've doubled down, they've disengaged, and now it's all starting to crumble. 2v2, Doggio, first layer, Aftershock. Second layer should be Rolling Thunder. They got a gun in hand. It's down to the 1v2. Largely trying to get ahead, but the players are splintered, and Doggio delivers 4 kills on the round to match the 4 rounds they have now found here. And they are not trying to give away an advantage at the half too easily to SCC.
They keep things close. They keep things manageable, right? A 6-6 half would be great for both of these teams, all things considered. But for UCSD, because you're on that back foot, it's about damage control. The fact that you prevent your economy from spiraling, you can keep things tucked in here, and a 6-6 half is still very much attainable, is huge. And they still have all those ults in play, right? The only one they used was the Blade Storm.
And look at this. It's like clockwork every time Oppi's challenging Yuumi, usually finding them as well. And like clockwork, SCC tried to claim a main space, but the Rolling Thunder denies it. And look at this. Finally Yuumi wins, but it doesn't even matter. They're not dead yet. Brings Oppie back to life, and now they're getting crunched between Riv and Marsley in a main after the stun has withdrawn. And everything crumbles down to a 2v2. Make it a 1v2. Jet, if they get the spike down, they'll have 2 lives, but is it 1 for each player?
Oh, but Riv takes the first, and at that point, Jen decides against it. Let SCC claim their 7th, despite the good work from Yuumi. It was that A main fight. It just went a little bit awry, and that hold that SCC was able to provide was enough to propel them to a lead at this half.
Last round before the switch.
7-4, and I mentioned it, right? Like the defense-sided nature that's suddenly arising in the new meta for Lotus, and it's starting to rear its head here. So even if it is a disadvantage for UCSD before the side swap, I don't think that's going to be a terrible thing to face. Now, I don't think it needs to be an 8-4. I think it needs to be a 7-5 in my mind with the composition that they're running. But that's what's so interesting about SCC's composition. Is I don't think it's the comp to making it defense-sided, it's how they're playing this aggressive comp. Very well, very retake focused or very aggressive A main focused. And you can see how UCSD's been trying to counter this time and time again, whether it's spray, whether it's Yuto, whether it's B main aggression. And when they withdraw, like, again, the retakes are clean, so UCSD has to be so composed in these situations. And again, SCC's done a good job disrupting that. And look, Riv sticking around, had the double tap active, still has it active, looking for a kill, but the shield hence destroyed. And the players just stall it out, wait for hopefully Yuumi to develop, but there's 2 players and the drone reclear coming.
Oh, Yuumi. That's not what you want. They're very aware of your alert now. It's not like the A main fight has resulted in any space, so UCSD now half the time burned. They need to get something going here, and it seems that they just want to Hail Mary it towards B. Smokes are ready. The util's about to follow.
Oh, the crossfire, the Armageddon. There's so much that could go wrong here. I mean, they dismantled half of it, but the other half, here we go. Jen, Lena, Kiwi each finding their own kills, and I mean, the neural theft basically acting as confirmation that they've conquered the B site. Setting up now for an aggressive play to try and find the solo Cypher before Oppie joins up with them. And it works, finally, at the cost of a not dead yet, but Oppie's still alive. They are the raid boss in this scenario. Util players, and there it is, Jen clinging on to life here for that 7-5 half favoring SCC.
Switching sides.
You know, I said that they were just gonna run to B, and I said it in very desperate tone. Like, all else has failed, we need to go B, but that was... it worked, right? Just, when in doubt, we throw that breach utility from Doggio down onto that B site, and we swing out. Yuumi did an excellent job there on that entry of isolating that crossfire, and taking that fight as perfectly as you can. And basically, off the back of that first kill, the B site just crumbled for SCC, and UCSD cleans up that round perfectly, and now the sides are swapped, right? So all those things we talked about at the start of this map, what the attack looks like for SCC, how detailed are their executes, how does UCSD look on their holds, that's what's coming into play now.
Yeah, I mean, the comp here for SCC feels like to be a menace on the attack, right? The Neon, the ISO. And this is interesting as well. UCSD, right? You mentioned that Jet over the Rays. Well, they don't have as much kind of A main space control. Like, it's harder to take it, right? So they had 4 players this time, right? You have your Clove, your Jet scaling up alongside the Breach Stun. Although in reality, it's your Cypher alone on C. And I talked about how you have to have this retake mentality instead of a live by the site, die by the site. Well, Human clearly thought otherwise.
Pistol, things could be different, but
Aww.
I mean, the plant needs to be sticked from Marsley, so Daggio able to claim one off the Aftershock. It does mean that it's even numbers going into the retake, but UCSD does have a fair bit of utility to play with, so as Danny gets to look around towards door here, buy a little bit of time for this retake to commence. Paranoia about to be sent out as the swing from water does commence. Jen and Lena each able to find one apiece. Jen gets to double up now, and it's a 1v3 for Oppie. We've seen them do wonders with a rifle in their hands, but the pistol needs to be the same, and it won't come through. It's Jen on the retake, showing that Cloves on both sides know how to frag.
Yeah, no, Jen's definitely been playing some profound catch-up here, right? From the last round of the first half that ended things on a 7-5 to that pistol that puts them right back into the saddle with the potential for a 7-7 tie out the gate. I mean, look at the force up here between Lena and Jen. The duo that we saw really enabled that retake on the C site. Like, they're not just looking to win this second round, they're looking to continue the snowball into an avalanche of a victory here on Lotus, on the half that I said this composition is designed for. So SCC, I mean, yes, it's a pistol, write it off, move forward. But what do you think they have to change now?
SEC, I think let's just keep things calm. Let's focus on damage in this round. Because of the sheer investment from UCSD here, anything more than 2 people dead is essentially a failed round, regardless of whether or not you win. So, you want to try and keep things close. Abby just tries to take that initial fight. It doesn't go through. Instead, it's going to be Danny off the swing, and Lena finding 2 as well. My goodness! UCSD, they don't care that the bomb was planted. They just clean things up.
And that B-side crunch was fast and furious. I mean, if you're SCC, at least you got to plant down a little bit of extra cash in the bank for this first buy. But, I mean, I definitely would be fearing the next time I exec B, right? They look like they were doing the right thing, right? Taking deep space towards, you know, B heaven. Taking space towards, you know, C-Link. And unfortunately, all the players really careened out of Blue Room. And again, that kind of falls back to what I mentioned about how they have 4 players towards the A side here, which isn't normal on Lotus, right? You typically have, you know, maybe you want your Cypher on C, you know, 1 player on B, maybe 1 Waterfall, 2A, 3A at max, but this 4 stack, hard to meddle with, and they are, like, definitely playing for that retake on B. And, well, I would say C, but we saw the Cypher die last time they ended there.
That was a pistol. Things always get a little
true.
funky on pistols. I'll give Qme the credit there. SCC taking a much more measured approach to this round, right? A lot more passive. Don't want to try and take too much space too early. Trying to have UCSD burn some of their utility for once. And while things are slow, I did do a bit of research. And both of these rosters are using subs. So the battle of subs that goes on as the A fight does start to take place. Salvo's going to forces Lena into the most tucked of positions, but Jen is there to bail them out. Lena finds 2, and Jen can use that not dead yet to continue the utter dominance.
No! They stole the kill!
Yeah, it's just Oppie alone, 1v5. We saw a 3K come out last time, and hold on! We just went again from a 1v5 to a 1v2, and Oppie can clean things up! That is ridiculous!
We just need a moment of silence for UCSD. Alright, the moment of silence has concluded. I mean, okay. First off, hats off to Jen. Had Lena's back perfectly. But the fact that they didn't get the assist kill, they were still up against the clock, and that's what kind of propelled the almost overheat, I would say, from USCSD, right? So they were trying to keep Gen alive, right? They also thought they probably had that round in the bag. So the pinch, well played out of Pillar, but they line up B main, and Oppie, tucked away in a corner, buying out that timer, knocks them down and knocks it out of the park. Home run of an ace to put SCC right back into business.
C-site execute. SCC off of that play from Oppie. It's guns a-blazing. Get to stick that plant. Marsley's got it on lock. Abby's there behind, playing the lives of these innocent UCSD players. Blind goes through. It doesn't matter. It's all about style points as Abby finds 3. Now Dogio alone. 1v4. Find anything, why don't you? That kill is great, but there's a Marsley around the corner, and you're bullied into a save here.
I mean,
as many kills as you
1v2.
want, but there's just time is such a factor.
Oh, I think there was a world where they win this if they immediately went towards site after that kill onto Oppie. I mean, look at how low HP Abby was after their 3... Yeah, I mean, after their 3K grandstand, Abby was low. I think there is a world. I mean, the Teo, I think, would have been the main difficulty, like Marsley with the guided salvos. But regardless, I do think a save is a good call. It's still a 9-7, right? That was kind of like a forced buy from UCSD. And, oh my goodness, like, if we're comparing, right, Abby in that 3K to Kumi last half, right, it's night and day as well with that B main presence. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel bad for Kumi because they were always up against Oppie, who's 31-14, mind you, in regulation.
In 15 rounds.
In 15
Oppie
rounds.
got
wait,
30
16,
kills.
16.
No, because last round they hit the 31 mark. It was 8-7 when they hit the 31 mark, because that was the
Okay.
So.
Anyways, regardless, like, they're showing what the power of a good lurk sentinel can bring as well to a attack half, mind you. And SCC showing how, like, yes, Oppie has the frag impact, every teammate's doing their job, which is what's important. And look at this, UCSD on an eco, a full swap up where SCC's about to breach double digits. This is a trap play on C. Like, that's what it is, tried and true. They haven't done anything to dismantle a B main just yet. So as soon as they make contact deep mount, it's gonna get sprung, right? The stun, the revolving door, the paranoia from Danny, and the swing from Lena. Here we go.
Stun, paranoia, swing out. Lena finds the opener, and Danny with one as well on Tamiya. That's enough. You got that 5 versus 3, and you dropped the spike as well. UCSD, that's about as good as an opening you can ask for.
Yeah, that was beautifully built, and I'm noting that down in my notebook for when we face off against them.
Yeah.
Like, it's if you know it's there, it's easy to counter, but they had no clue. And I like the confidence to just refight into the site, right? Oppie, tip of the spear, even when you've lost a duelist.
30 seconds left.
Here we go. Lena forced to respect it. Play the numbers that you're going to have when the rest of the team rotates back over to the C site.
Abby's super low, too. This is very, very doable for UCSD. Those pistols have a chance to knock things down to a 2 versus 4, 2 versus 3. Dodgio's Vandal saves from around prior. Could be enough to create just enough of an imbalance on the replay. Flashes go through. Metal as well, trying to get something done, but Oppie and Rib have dismantled everything handily until it's just up to Oppie yet again. We've seen clutch after clutch. It could be too much to ask for. Not dead yet, used and burned as Dogio's Vandal, the saved Vandal from the round prior, finds enough.
Wow, I mean, from the trap play to that, I love Lena making the decision to play their life, stay waterfall instead of counter the plant. Oppie there, again, trying to be the hero, I think, but the dismiss comes too early. And this is an interesting call. SCC with the timeout here. First one of the series. And it's showing how they're trying to remain proactive. Up 1 round still. I want to say they'll still have a bye as well. But, I mean, ults in hand. I think that's why they're taking the timeout here. Because it feels like this is going to be one of the last big ult cycles they might have before potential kind of comeback from UCSD per se. I definitely don't think it's the last one. We'll see if there is an overtime in the cards, but try to think, because it doesn't feel like too much that round. Like,
I think it's
they fell into the trap. That was it.
Yeah, I think it's a nerve thing for SCC because it's getting close, and you have to remember that SCC's momentum in a lot of these rounds has been Oppie bailing them out of unwinnable positions, right? We think about the fact that Oppie literally 1v5'd. That should be telling enough. SEC at this point, this is a timeout that's kind of just calming nerves and trying to bring people closer together in terms of, you know, I guess warmness.
And a good point as well is that this is SEC's map pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they are, you know, this close against UCSD, they might be worried about, okay, what does next map bring? We need to close this out cleanly. We need to keep up our energy and our vibes before the next map. Which again, Haven should be a map they know how to play, but never know what UCSD is going to have up their sleeve, because they've looked strong here too. Here we go. No challenge this time over towards A main, right? They're just getting all this space for free, no players. And I'm surprised that they haven't really calmed for the rotation away from the C side just yet.
Well, proactive about
Fake?
UCSD figures, yeah, with the lack of aggressive attention.
They didn't sell that at all.
Yeah, you don't need to force the issue. You can play back a little bit. Kumi gets to sit on the site. We'll have rotations ready. That should be the tell. This strike does come in, so Kumi backs up.
Abby.
Out. Oh, they lined up.
That's huge. Neural Theft as well confirms the position of every player here in this post plan. Someone's got to step up. Maya trying to do so. They're stunned, they're blinded, they're exposed, basically dealt with at this point. And it's a 2v5.
Run around bend. Marsley, though, able to find one, but immediately traded means that Oppie alone, 85 HP, Vandal in hands, but immediately traded. UCSD, despite the absolute heroism we have seen from SCC and the various players, they've rallied the comeback. We're tied up at 9-9.
Yeah. I mean, I rarely think that there was maybe a little bit of a disjointment or miscomm there and who was fighting the CT, and Kumi punished it. And I talked about how Kumi beforehand, right? You talked about, okay, maybe it was a pistol and that's why they got stuck on site, but them playing from that waterfall position, which they were forced into, right? They couldn't run deeper in a spawn because of the Armageddon, right?
Yeah.
And so just playing there, playing in the smoke, beautifully done there. And now, I mean, look at the economy for SCC, you know, Oppie, Abby, yes, weapons in hand, forced up. But Oppie, I think they're just going to be continuing to Vandal Light Shield, because they're not going to be able to buy next round. Ooh,
No,
is this a
dedicated.
fake? I like the stun there. It kind of is supposed to, like, hide an A main presence. So now they're going to use, like, good clearing utility like the drone, and it's not going to find anything.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, it's able to go pretty deep onto the site, but still, you haven't cleared out much. You do get tree, and that will be a fair bit of space. Salvos are out on the site. Don't know, security staring as Maya takes
No
one,
way.
but he finds another, and that might be the dagger for this round. Lena has to go exploring and has to get active. There's one player in heaven, but Riv falls at the same time.
Yeah,
What? Can't give Maya that kill, and Jen's good on that clear. Lena with another means it's a 1 versus 3 for Marsley. They've been able to do it before, but again, it's too much to ask for. Despite the way that this game has been, UCSD will be the first to double digits.
That was insanely unlucky shots on the Guardian from Marsley there, right? Both were like, both sides whiffing shots, you know. There's a war where they just click 2 heads and it's suddenly SCC on 10. But I liked UCSD and how disruptive they were. They didn't really, or sorry, SCC was, right? They didn't really give a chance at a clean retake there from UCSD. And I think Doggo maybe stuck around a little bit too long instead of disengaging a little bit more. So then, yeah, it started requiring heroics from that squad, and Lena did deliver. So really nicely there as well. Lena kind of preventing any ults like the overdrive, like the death contract from getting utilized on the side of SCC. Here we go. I think this is a really big thing for SCC this half. They've realized that after, like, it was UCSD taking Rubble space with 4 players, they aren't taking it at all, and they get all this space for free.
Yeah, but you have to commit someone to actively staying there, and in this round, that's Maya. So Maya is going to be the one.
Yeah, to duelists.
Yeah, looking to try and take this fight. Doggio, passive, doesn't clear the corner. And Maya, that's going to start to pull rotations. So Kumi, you need to get out, this site at a perfect enough time. Make sure you don't give away your life here. You're stuck in behind the back of the pillar. The cybercade will allow you to commit to your retreat. 4v5 now. That spike is ready to get planted.
And the timing felt seconds too early, right? The players hadn't fully committed to a rotate on the side of UCSD. Now they're all here for the 4v5. Flood back in there, winning the duels because SCC's proactive space is getting turned against them.
It's all about this flank from
Oh,
Oppie.
it's
this
not
lurk,
planted for them.
the rewrap, whatever you want to call it. It's not planted for
Save.
them. Oh no!
No way.
They did
It's
it.
halved, right? There's no way.
It's halved, but when you just defuse in the same spot, you can get tapped down. But unfortunately, it just misses. So while it was an impressive first kill, a second is just, that's too much to ask for.
Yeah, when they're at full HP like that,
Yeah.
but UCSD on 11. It's still shocking to me that SCC isn't really using like ultimates in any of these rounds because
Yeah.
again, they're just getting so much space for free with the mind games. Like I said, like UCC, like they're walking up, like they're not taking any main space. So SCC gets to walk out there, deposit a lurk player. They get a kill, it draws players off. So then you don't have to take C space with with ults. You just walk onto the site like they did. And it was just the retake from UCSD that was so clean there. And definitely rough around the edges. They're looking to replicate and maybe clean it up here a little bit. And you still have a lurking player. This time it's Jen over towards the A site. Could be difficult for Smokes to come by the C site then. But aside from that, I definitely feel like Doggo's not going to make the same mistake again.
No. I mean, considering Doggio started this round, they were like in their spawn. I think the Maya kill was enough to scare any UCSD player off. Humi's camera shot down, taken away. And it's committed here as they push in. The trap wire, it does enough. And Humi finds the collab again. Even though it's been equalized into a 3-on-3, there's still players here, and you can see Maya sits in that smoke, waits, tries to get a cheeky pick.
Rolling Thunder?
There's water. Rolling Thunder available, but not used just yet. Doggio tries to get it, but Maya dodges it and slides in, and Oppie gets to clean things up onto Jen. SCC off the back of one ult can flip the tides and bring things back to double digits for all.
I mean, Angel, I wouldn't even say off the back of one ult, right? Like, because Cumi, even with the Armageddon, held their ground and found two, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
they were alone and got retraded, but ultimately, I think it's Maya that won that round for them, right? Because UCSD, even though they lose Cumi, she got her two. If you live by the site, die by the site, that's perfectly fine if you get your two as a Sentinel. UCSD had a great retake plan with that Rolling Thunder, and what happens, Maya gets ahead of it in Waterfall, even while stunned, they find a second. So really nicely done. SCC feeling like their key to a comeback here could be the C site, and look at this 4-stack over towards A. They are correct with this mind meld.
The read there. Immediately Rolling Thunder to be farmed up again for UCSD. They do claim that A side door broken. Oppie will communicate that over. But it's this C site hit yet again. Off of a kill contract to potentially take out the Cypher util. They're just pathing out. Mana does get revealed, but
Did Rom not see it? Ooh. That could have been dangerous. Oppie could have been like swung by 3 players. Instead, they set themselves up for a trap C retake here. Off the death contract getting sprung, the revolving door pinch. This is again looking good for SCC, but on site. Everyone's holding their own ground for UCSD. What is this?
It's
What just
a
happened?
massacre on the site. That kill contract could only do so much. UCSD, the power of teamwork and friendship has just been propelling them through these retakes, and they found themselves at match point.
And what I say about like a 7-5 being enough, this comp's made for the defense, like, and this also shows, like, I mean, Oppie's about to drop 40, and they still might lose this map. Like, it shows how top heavy versus well-roundedness truly has an impact. And I definitely want to point out Kumi as well, a player that's stepped up since the first half. And again, I don't think it's against them having a rough first half. It's just that Oppie was always their opponent, right? Like, you'll take like a look at that performance and like, you know, you'll have like the star by the name. Like, Oppie's is going to be by Kumi there because of how many first bloods they got against them. And now when they're getting their chance to actually do their job on the C site, it's been working out. And it gives an advantage to UCSD to then win out these rounds. So now, economy in shambles. You got to rely on the overdrive towards the B site. But remember last time UCSD retook this site, it was also flawless. Did they go C here? No, okay, I was about to say.
we don't go that crazy. Instead, it's about this commitment to the B site, and Oppie start things off with that kill onto Kumi, just driving that grudge, one kill deeper, off out in the hands of Lena, trying to find something. Instead, it's Jen with that opener onto Marsley. There's that off, Lillian True finds another, and the spray was there from Maya. Still, the stick, it comes through at the worst time. UCSD, with the power of retakes, have a perfect or near perfect defensive half and close things out 13-10.
It was still a 2v2 while they were defusing, and I mean, it wasn't flawless, but like it was just as seamless, it felt like, as that like flawless round. Like, and that's what I mentioned, like I was so confused and worried about how they were, okay, they had this 4 stack A, your solo Cypher C, and I mean, like halfway through the half they kind of changed it up a little bit. Going back to it on the last round, it shows how quick the pivot into a B retake is for that team, and then how they just kind of trust in Kimi on the C side or play the retake and the proactive rotations. Like, they definitely are very defense focused on that map, and they know what they have to work on the attack, but it was enough to steal away, right, the map pick of SCC.
And that alone is so impressive with how they chose to play, how they operated on those retakes. Everything that came into effect for them in that map was insane. And listen, we talk about Oppie. .476?
Wow. Well, if there is a record in Aurora series, I'm sure it's been broken.
That might be the record from now on. And 5 first kills too, like on Clove, right? You had 2 duelists, and you still ran away with 5 first kills.
Yeah, that was just insane level of performance for sure. And like, again, I really liked the creativity of this composition. I mean, look, both teams, right, kind of found that happy balance of, okay, new meta play and also kind of fitting like the meta to the roles and the agents their team was comfortable with, right? We didn't have a raise on either side, mind you guys. Like, that is interesting, right, for Lotus. It's against the norm, and they still made it work for both teams in their own way. I mean, like, what was this, a 7-5 half, right? 13-10 victory for UCSD. Neither team, I feel like, should be like too disappointed in this map, but again, UCSD probably elated that they took the map off of SCC, because now they have a really good opportunity to go into their map pick and knock this out of the park in a 2-0.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? The fact that you get to pivot off of the momentum you had here as a team into Haven is going to be huge. But something that I'm going to be interested in when it comes time for it is how that comp turns out. Because if SCC choose to stick with the Tejo, that's going to be a little interesting. And something tells me that UCSD, although they had success with it here on Lotus, are not going to be keen to stick with the double orb smokes that's going on. So
I am curious then, is SCC gonna run a Neon ISO on Haven? I just said that we departed away from that meta on that map and we've gone back to normalcy. So I'm curious about that personally, Ancient Angel. So curious that I want to throw it to a break faster so we can get back into the action faster. So make sure you guys go get a drink of water, take a walk, take a breather, and when we come back, map 2 of week 2 of Aurora series between UCSD and SCC will continue.
Welcome back, everyone, to Aurora Series Valorant. My name is Ancient Angel. Here with me is Zobi, and we are coming off the back of a pretty tight map 1, 10-13 between UCSD and St. Clair as we move into map 2 of Haven. Map 1 was Lotus, and we saw absolutely ridiculous plays. I think we saw the first 1v5 in Aurora
Did we see
Series.
2 aces?
We saw I think 3 aces. We saw a 1v5.
Oh my gosh.
We saw one other 1v5 almost happen. It was insane. It was ridiculous. And now we've moved forward. We're on to Haven. Lotus is a map of the past. I don't even know what that map looks like. What is a Lotus? Someone please tell me. I am suffering.
I think it's a type of flower.
Is it? That would make sense.
I think so. But yeah, I agree. I think especially if you're SCC, that's the mindset you just have to have, because you lost a 7-5 lead. Again, I talked about how like top heavy it was because Oppie almost dropped 40, and this is now you're heading into a map that isn't your pick. And I talked about, okay, what is it going to look like if teams have been avoiding typical agent picks? And we already have an answer. Oppie, not on the Clove, but on the Phoenix. This is even spicier, but it feels like a very similar vein, right? Like a self-sufficient fragging agent, whether it's, you know, from the pick me up to the not dead yet, or whether it's from a Phoenix that comes back to life and can self-heal. I think it's going to be played in a very similar fashion. My question mark then becomes, what are Maya and Riv going to play? And now we're starting to get the answer.
Yeah, Maya going on to the smokes here, and Riv going for that jet. On the other side, so, okay, hold on. Maya Clove? I don't know how I feel about that.
I think it works either.
Okay.
I think both work. Like Omen, aggressive controller. Maya, Clove, aggressive controller. It works since we just saw them on a Neon. To me personally, I think either one works in this situation. Now, Riv, I don't think you're fooling anyone with that. You're not fooling anyone with that. You're going Jet. And I think that works really well, because you're going to see Jet probably at least on the defensive side on an operator. You're still going to have that aggressive retake duelist of Oppie on the Phoenix. And then we look at, right, like we don't want to gloss over UCSD, but they're running, like I said, the old meta, what it kind of has reverted to on this map. And again, they're just showing mastery of the meta, in my opinion, like this team, versus then the opposing side of SCC's playing creativity in the new meta.
Yeah. And something that's going to be interesting is the fact that UCSD just did like a quad role swap under our nose. Like we have Lena, who just went from Jet to now playing Breach.
That one's hard.
It's like insane. Like everyone on that team just has different roles except for Doggio, who goes from Breach to Sova, which is like, yeah, you can make that work. They're both initiators, they're both playmakers. But yeah, the fact that like I think even the Kumi is on a different role, which I'm like, what? How do you? I don't know. We're gonna have to find out more as we jump into the pistol round, but that is gonna be interesting to watch as this map develops, because you know we're not doing the double smokes anymore.
And we're gonna have to restart the lobby because they forgot to swap sides, number one. But number two, I'm wondering if that whole role swap action is because of the double controller. And I'm gonna see what you pointed out and raise you was Jen on the duelist. Do you remember?
Because
if they were, no, not on Lotus, but on Haven now. Like, who took up Lena's duel? Then it makes perfect sense to me, right? Because Clove was that, she was getting super aggressive on the defense, right? Like, it works, I think, in what I saw on Lotus, that this would be the shift they go away from. Because, again, Lotus is that weird double controller, so you need someone to play off role, and I think it does make sense for then, them to change Lena and Jen a little bit. Because Lena and Jen were those that were playing super, like, buddy-buddy, side-by-side, and now that makes so much more sense as well when you look at the Jet Breach combo that's going to happen likely on this map. So that duo synergy carried over, whether it was a Jet Clove versus now swapping agents, and like now Jen's on the Jet and a Breach for Lena. So I think it definitely translates very well in my mind.
All right, you've sold me. UCSD wins 2-0.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
That's it. Yeah, that's...
I have to be even more unbiased now, because not just am I a caster, but I'm a player in this group. But you know what? I don't know, because SCC, all right, Riv had a little bit of a hard time on the ISO, I think. Like, I think it was honestly who was diffing them a little bit. I don't even know. Like, they were just like, I feel like they were getting dropped a little bit. I think it was Lena, actually, that was like there were, do you remember that one clip that was like a nasty shot, like through the ISO shield? They double headshot them on that A retake. Like, how do you counter that if you are an ISO? Just again, I'm hoping that we talked about moving past map 1. That's what SCC has to do. Because if they step up, if they're a Jet, if they're an Opper too, we didn't really get to see too much op action. I think we saw one round from Lena actually over on Lotus, and it didn't have too much impact. So this is a map that's more designed around it if you get off on the right start.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what the op looks like in this map. But I think the other thing that's going to be interesting, assuming that those comps are locked in, which I think they will be, is I want to see this Phoenix, because you have essentially, right, what's considered like the traditional meta, right, with the double initiator, the breach Sova, and then you talk about old meta. All you have to do for that St. Clair comp is move the Clove back to an Omen, and that's like prime 2021 Haven meta. Is this exact comp?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like that's exactly what the meta has settled back into with the nerf of Neon, right? Like, and that's just kind of how the cookie has crumbled. And SCC is the one that's trying to keep things spicy and I think play to their player strengths over the meta. But again, it's a variant that I think can work with what we saw comparatively to Lotus, but we'll have to see. I mean, this comp definitely favors a C-take simulator, so run it back on the pistol. Only difficulty here is going to be that Sentinel post up here on the C site. Full KJ utility and the quick rotation. Can they hold it down? Oh, what a paranoia.
Can hold, but Danny from Garage is enough to find two. Qme gets to just trade out that kill, try and get a little active in this round. Oppie now.
Uh-oh.
They have a lot of work to do here in towards spawn, but Jen is there, headshot in hand. Now Abby, any kill here would be nice, but nothing goes your way. UCSD on the defense, on a map like Haven, getting that pistol round is huge.
I mean, I don't even think it's just that they got the pistol round, it's how they got it, right? Yeah. Again, and that coordination there on the C site, right? The paranoia beautifully timed with the alarm bot and swarm grenades. Like, even if the Jet dashed back site, that Jet Riv was alone. And while they find, you know, a kill, ultimately the rest of the team falls at their wayfront because of Danny. And then, like, in the meantime, right, the rest of the UCSD squad was taking really deep space A, which you love to see with this composition, that Jet as well. Now, talked about sniper rifles, talked about op possibility. How about an outlaw for you?
You know what, I'm going to say it. The outlaw, better than the op.
I think it's an outlaw, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, hold on. Jen, you got to hit your shots. Otherwise the point is moot. But reload, try again, re-swing, it's going to be straight up B-site execute, and there we go. Opener found onto Maya. Abby could have potentially fallen next. Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah. Not to Lena, but to Jen again.
Yeah, it just takes them a second. You know, they haven't outlawed the series. You know, they're warming back up to it. They were on smokes for crying out loud last map. And speaking of smokes, line of sight blocked, still playing for maybe some RNG shots. Lena as well with the Bulldog here. I was hoping for maybe a double swing, and I think that's what they're going to set up between Marsley and this Phoenix, but smoke dissipates. We're trying to punish over aggression here. 45 seconds left. Spike down. What can you find?
Can we find? That's the whole. Shots don't go that well. Yeah. Oppie tries to flash in with a curveball. That doesn't work. So now Riv alone, classic in hand, triple swung, triple kill. Lena finds the most in a flawless anti-eco.
That was really, really nice. And we're not gonna get a third round operator because this outlaw lives to see another day. But I mean, first off, this outlaw's gonna do damage. Look at this: 2 light shields, a regen shield, and look, they're even going light shield here, so you know they're gonna get an operator next round for the buy up for UCSD. So I mean, we talked about the possibility of a 2-0, and maybe you saw the future, Ancient, because this is like very set up for a snowball type of map and half.
Short is going to be huge, especially because the shields are not full for everyone. There's the first shot ringing out. Shields don't even matter. It's a headshot, and Abby's gone out of this round. Immediately, UCSD back up to a 5v4 advantage.
Again, it's that first blood potential. Huge. All these players grouped up on the correct site for this re-hit. I mean, are they going to drone? I was wondering, is Doggio going to try and re-clear this? Because I don't think they should solo peek it. Ooh, especially with that rifle in hand. This is dangerous! The off angle dealt with! Riv clean. Numbers reequated. Oh, the side smoke. Lina concealed. This could get dangerous quick. Oh, never mind.
Gets held by Riv, and now 3 versus 4. Retake needed on A with these tiny choke points. They're in the same direction. We know how difficult it is to retake this site, but Jen does have this outlaw. This could go huge. That kill would have been perfect. It's dodged. Oppie in towards short. Gets to sit and hold and trade out the kill from Maya. The run it back already in round number 3. Gets taken care of by Danny. One player in graffiti in the name of Riv gets to sit back and buy as much time as possible for a 4K. So that way SCC don't let things snowball too fast.
What did I say? If Riv wakes up, this is a completely different ballgame. Beautiful 4-piece. I was a little wary because we didn't really get to see like how Danny was alive in that situation, but again, creative site smokes, they work around them, at least do some damage on the Byron, which is what they were hoping for, right? Like, look, 2 light shields, again, not a good economy, not stable for SCC. She talked about it kind of improving your situation. They're still not out of the red zone just yet. And this is the buy-up that I expected to see from UCSD, right? The Operator, jet off 2 from the Blade Storm, the rest with the Vandals in hand. Like, yes, the Forest Vandal has repercussions like a Guardian, but otherwise, they are set up really well for this defense.
Just get to bide their time now. The off, it was set up for some good lines, but of course, utility rages against the loud.
And I really like that smoke from Maya, because like you mentioned, it disrupted the op line. Drone broken before it can spot out Jen here with the op. This is not a thing you can dash away from, I'd say. Now they're trapped up close. They have to depend on Doggio. And can they? Kind of. 1-for-1.
Gets the trade, and Lina's there as well. Doggio's life. A quick kill onto Maya means that it's a 1 versus 3, and that op very much recoverable.
Oh my gosh, and Doggio's like, all my friends are falling at my wayside. You know? Like, they live to tell the tale. And I like this. The Killjoy, tracking Marsley's movement, turret, never broken. Haven't really seen that default nature from SCC. Not quite sure if they've gone window or sight. So playing with their teammates, playing for that trade. Kumi and Danny cleaning things up, get the 3rd for UCSD. And like you mentioned, I'm assuming that Doggio, yeah, recollected the Operator, hands it off. We talked about economy improvements. Doggio, are you gonna go for that Odin? No, okay.
Let's not get too crazy.
I mean, it's a combo for a reason, especially on a map like Haven.
Listen, is it a great combo? Absolutely. Do we pull it out in round 5?
Yeah.
Might be one of.
Not when it's Nico.
Yeah,
not when it's Nico
wait.
for SCC. Yeah.
Let's wait.
Next round?
Absolutely.
No, maybe.
That nice little Odin spam towards B window, absolutely. But not this round. Let's keep things closed down for a little bit. Op line on C. Jen spots the cross. No shot taken.
And it's a free orb collected without punishment as well, right? There was no smokes, no nothing. The reposition towards grass, I like. You trust your Killjoy on the C site. I'm expecting the stack. They're playing retake, it almost looks like here, for UCSD on A, right? Positioned really deep into CT. They almost like don't want to fight the strength and numbers that this site take is going to entail. And that does make me a little nervous, but let's have them show me I'm a liar.
I mean, they have the weapons, so that's the advantage they're going to have to rely on here in a full 5v5 retake. The only real kit in the arsenal for SCC is that Blade Storm in the hands of Riv, so we're gonna have to see Riv go through once again, and this A site holds the dash already out. Jen finding the opener, but the spray's a little messy for the second, so Maya's able to get the trade, but Nina's there. Quick response back. Danny's off. In hand rings out onto the offie hater. Now Marsley gets to sit. Quick flick, finds the first kill. And now that they know that both are over towards the short position, Danny spray down onto Marsley means that Lina gets to stick. There's the hold. Danny takes care of it, and UCSD,
no trust.
The retake works perfectly. Trust doesn't matter when you have time on your side. We trust the clock in this household, and UCSD gets a 4-1 lead.
Wow. I mean, okay, I talked about how an op could work on SCC side, right? When you have the double duelist, right? Yeah. What do? You just hand off the op to Danny, and your Jet's right back in the fight. Doesn't need to even pop the Blade Storm. And I think this is a much-needed timeout for the St. Clair Saints. I mean, we talked about it already. They're down their map pick. They're heading into the, the field of UCSD, their territory. And we're starting to see why this is the go-to composition, right? And I mean, SCC, I mean, I just want to see a default, right? Break the Killjoy turret garage, you know? Deposit player deep B cubby. And we're not seeing any of that, really. And we're not even seeing, like, death balls into sight. It just feels like they're not catering to Haven and they're not catering to their comp, if that makes sense.
Agreed. I think one of the big strengths of this comp, especially if you're SCC, is the fact that you have a Phoenix that can go anywhere and constantly find value. And it's something that they started to explore in that last round, right? Where you had both of the orbs being farmed up in that round to get this run it back available. But I would love to see some more independent lurks from Oppie, right? Go over towards mid, tuck yourself into that little cubby and garage and try and find value and try and pry away garage control from UCSD. It's one of the biggest strengths you have. And
do you see this?
Yeah, we have a bunch of pings in mid.
No,
and
UCSD.
Very strong C setup.
Wow, this is... that's what I thought. This was like a hard counter-strat call, I think, coming out of the timeout for UCSD. And you remember over on Lotus, UCSD won the timeout, or the round after the timeout from SCC. And I think that's what they were trying to stage again. This time, though, they find the lurk player. You said you wanted lurk player? Well, your lurk player has been taken out. And a second, again, this feels like UCSD showing their confidence in retakes of the A site, which, mind you, is the hardest state to retake. And Maya, I know you're not dead yet, but come on.
Wait, you're telling me we're not supposed to dry swing the op?
I mean, Maya saw what happens when she does. But
that's fine.
Speaking of dry swings, Oppie, that's the other player you wanted to have a lurk position. And they had the stats to back it up on the last map, but it feels like wherever they're knocking up against, they're getting really strong, like, answers from UCSD, right? A Killjoy on B, a stack and an op over towards C and garage simultaneously. A has to be the final answer. We talked about it. UCSD's comfortable retaking it.
Dodging in the smoke. This could be a little scary. Riv has updrafted towards heaven. Jen is trying to clear it out, but Riv gets that kill. Maya was taking care of it. And Lina on the flash swings in, finds that headshot.
Rolling
Run
Thunder.
it back. It's used by Oppie on the site, but so is the Rolling Thunder. Just to stun up, buys a little bit of time. Only 2 now. Oppie
No way.
finds the first. Needs 2 more. Smoked off, in towards short, swings out, doesn't clear, and Dodgio just gets to style for a little bit longer. Nice little trigger discipline, has to bait the team to a 5-1 lead.
Oh my goodness. And 2 things. You talked about Dogio styling on Oppie. Can we talk about how Oppie is full stunned by the Rolling Thunder, run and gun headshot onto Lina? Like, that's like the kind of thing where I'd be alt F4ing after, because there's no universe that you should be hitting that, especially right as the timer for the run it back is expiring. Like, every RNG box was just hit. Like, Oppie's luck used up for the year. But aside from that, UCSD, like you mentioned, still win it. Like, again, like, even with Riv in a really good position, Heaven gets traded out. UCSD so methodical in those A-side retakes, and just the quick nature, the quick call as well to pull out the Rolling Thunder. That's why they're up 5-1. And they're consistently innovating. Look, we haven't seen this out of their scrapbook yet. They're going down mid, and again, gonna find the lurk player.
Oh, that hurts. Vandal recovered, so much full arsenal available for UCSD. Kumi able to bait the teammate. Oppie will be able to trade, sure, but now a Hunter's Fury gets used and committed to delay, allows it to before a spike is even planted, but Lina doesn't check the close corner, and Maya's able to trade things out, and now that Danny goes down as well, and Jen is next to follow. Dogio has to 1 versus 3. Not dead yet, not going to be used. Instead, a 1v2 with both of these players on opposite ends of this spike. Oppie into stack crate. Dogio gets to spam that out, and now it's Sova v Sova. We know that they're off. Sit, drone, now burned, tagged as well. Hunter's Fury now used. Dogio tagged once, dodges the second, looks for a third, dodges it again. The B-hops are perfect.
Concentrate, Sova.
We long arm it. They have to jiggle in, and the time is there. A masterfully played display of patience for Dogio, and once again, they win the round. They clutch it up. 6-1 lead.
I'm just in awe at how SCC's Sova Marsley can have the full kit of utility. Recon bolt, drone, yes, no shocks, but the Hunter's Fury in its stead, and still not buy enough time. And the one-way was slightly off as well, right? Like, you saw that. Like, dog, you're taking advantage of that, sitting at the edge of it. And I'm sorry, that round should have gone to SCC. The number of UCSD mistakes, right? Lena solo fight. Obby finding the other solo fights against UCSD players. Like, that was pure heroics that salvaged the UCSD round, and I've given them now a safety net of a 6th.
And it can only go up from here. It's SCC, the buy is it's not all that great. You can see a Guardian in the hands of Abby. More concessions being made elsewhere. They do have one saving grace, and then they do have Maya tucked in towards Cubby. That is something to look out for as the C-split starts to take hold, but Jen is here, op in hand. And it's on top of that giant default box. So it looks to take that fight. Double swing, the shot goes a little bit awry.
Run it back.
Jen, she still wanted to try and take another shot in, but it doesn't go through. Instead, it's the paranoia out from Danny, able to take care of Riv. And that is tragic because there's no second life there for Riv.
Oh. This is what I wanted, right? A more developed post plant, right? Your lurk player was in position. Your entry, kind of clean. Yes, you lost Riv in the process, but Danny didn't find like a multi-kill like they have off that paranoia in previous rounds. So you come into a post plant with numbers, right? You've forced the off to be relinquished from Jen here. You have players established in multiple positions. I mean, you're even wrapping through spawn after the players have already come out CT. Like, to me, this isn't a round that UCSD can win.
Not at all now, especially because it was a 1v3, and you know, we've seen Doggio do it before, but in that position, that's going to be a bit too much to ask for, so.
Yes, perfect complexity.
Long-awaited round number 2 on the board. Potentially some momentum to be going their way now as UCSD not going to be doing too great on the money front.
And I was going to say, like, UCSD, also mind you guys, they won the last 4 rounds. Yeah. So the fact that they can't buy after losing 1 round shows how close the round wins for UCSD have been, or they would have had that win bonus built up tenfold. And so again, even though it's a 6-2, even though that feels like a stagnant scoreline so far, it shows that small mistakes have cost SCC these rounds, and if they clean them up, they should be able to fight back for a possible 6-6, starting with the 6.
Vandal in the hands of Jen, and they allow with a classic, and it is good onto the first for Mia, and that means that there's no smokes in this round, as they don't commit the not dead yet, so.
They could smoke A maybe, B maybe.
We can do a front view smoke for our hit.
Oh. For now, turret was destroyed. And that's kind of like, I talked about this, I wanted to see more default nature from SCC, right? Set up good positions across the map. They didn't take garage space, so the Killjoy was there waiting. But Danny, paranoia, the cage keeps the entire team alive! For now! What?
It's a little bit messy.
Player standing.
He falls alone in a one for tries to tap away Phantom.
Spike
Doesn't
down.
hit like a Vandal does.
30
So
seconds
you drop
left.
the spike the first time, but you need to start repositioning. You move into the back of the site as Riv gets to stick the plant.
Spike planted.
We talked about Doggio, their ability for the 1v(x) clutch. Can Jen do the same? Oh, the double swing is just too clean. Great consciousness that they were coming through garage as well. Yeah, doing damage on an eco, but SCC starting to stabilize here yet again. Should be another buy following suit. Neither team really out of the woods in these sort of situations just yet. UCSD and SCC both coming up into big ult rounds, and I think that's the only difference between these two teams, right? The ultimates on the side of UCSD are a lot scarier than the ones I would say on SCC, right? Run it back, probably your strongest site take ult, right? Maybe also not dead yet, but they're kind of the same side, or the different sides of the same coin, right? Versus a Rolling Thunder and a Lockdown. Now that's a retake for you.
There is no Hunter's Fury from St. Clair to counter it, so if Kumi can stay alive for a retake, that is it's basically a free round.
All right. So this is what SCC's answer has been, kind of. It wasn't the answer out of the timeout, but it has since been, yeah, start with the default, destroy the utility, rob UCSD of information, find an opening kill, find opening positions, and then avoid. And it's gone well so far, but I think that's why UCSD maybe is going to prod a little bit deeper here, right? You ping out Riv, do you swing it? I would like to see it from Doggyu and Jen together, but again, they're just playing safe. Maybe again wanting that advantage in the retake because that's not what they've been able to do recently.
Just keep things consistent. You see Oppie trying to sell a sort of fake towards B, and it's working. Drawing those away from this A site, but I mean, a 5v5 retake with 2 power ults like these in play, the Hunter's Fury and the lockdown. Committed as Jen simply trying to find one, doesn't find it though. Marsley gets that instead, but Doggyu is there with the trade, and Kumi gets to find one as well. But this could be an absolute shoo-in of a round. Maya stunned up, half HP now. Lockdown committed. Needs to go huge. On to Lena, but Doggyu immediately on the trade. 3 versus 2.
Oh, and they can't come back to life right after the lockdown has concluded either. If they had and just waited out the dismiss, it could have been a completely different story. But again, Maya only finding one there, not enough to warrant them giving their life away. And the remaining players for UCSD bulldoze into sight and bulldoze into a confirmed lead at the half. And again, they're making all of these attack-sided maps look defense-sided with their success so far.
Now, last time we saw a 7-5 half, where the defense was leading.
Ooh.
The attack, you know, the
You're not
side that was
wrong.
down, you know, they did come back. So I'm not saying anything because, you know, this isn't a 7-5 half yet. This is a 7-3 half right now. So
Yeah, and I mean, look at the money for SCC, right? They lose this round. I think we're looking at a 9-3, but that's an you know, a conditional if. So we have to see what happens now. And I mean, SCC are still sitting on these ultimates, right? Bladestorm, not dead yet. Neural Theft. So this is where UCSD is looking to get spicier. Talked about how safe they were playing it. Well, now Jen's kind of deposited on an island out here. Cubby, you got the bait from Lena, the swing on the off angle. Oh, and no one was there to trade it. That's now a neural theft. I think Abby should pop it. And they're trying to prevent that, and Lena does.
I was gonna say we can't be giving away those openings, but we can't be giving away those trades either. Stun goes through. Oppie has to try and use the blaze just to try and protect their life, protect the numbers that are now in an even circumstance. St. Clair have ultimates available for the hill plant as Maya gets that nice corner plant. Takes the advanced position again. The hole. Doggyu about to get used. Sent up. Clears out that whole area on the site.
That's huge info.
Drone also gets used in to allow you to start to peek in. Finds the opener onto Riv. The curveball's good from Oppie, but Doggyu is there immediately to the response, and it's just a rundown. Who cares if you can pick one of us off when we're all there to trade each other out? Who said anything about a 7-5 half? It's an 8-3 lead for UCSD.
And wow, again, they're like, I need to like look at the percentage win rate right now of the retakes on the A site, because I want to say it's nearly 100% for UCSD. And I was worried there. I'm like, okay, like they don't have the same ults that they had like the last 2 times they successfully retook this site, right? One when the Rolling Thunder came online after they dropped Raven Heaven. Second was, okay, the lockdown when there was no kind of Hunter's Fury to deny it from SCC. And now that round, right? I think the difficulty there was how much info that recon bolt got before getting destroyed. How much you talked about it, that drone found before getting destroyed. So again, it falls back to Dodgy. Even when they aren't clutching, even though when they aren't 14-4, they're doing their job. And now UCSD coming into this last round. I talked about it. SCC's economy is broken. You found the opening kill, and you have a Rolling Thunder. Oh my gosh.
Run it back. Absolutely nothing. It's a double opener in this C-long fight. Get burned, allow him to take potential fight here. First step is good. The spam is good through the smoke. Riv trying to get something done here. Grab the Guardian, but the shock dart finishes you off, and that means that Marsley in a 1v4, you're about to get cleared by a recon drone. they're running you down. You said 9-3.
You know what? That's the curse, that, like the emblem that I bear. If I say it, I will it into existence. And I mean, a triple swung. What can Marsley do in that situation? And I mean, we said, you know, the defense team up at the half lost, but a 9-3 comeback's a heck of an ask, especially after we mentioned, right? UCSD, this is their map pick. They're running the go-to comp. Oppie has not had the same performance that they did, and again, not one we can demand of them to drop 40 every map. Like,
yeah.
It's definitely difficult.
That being said, Oppie still is the only person positive on SCC, and that says something, especially considering the score is 9-3. So I want to give them credit where credit is due. That this is,
Yeah.
by all means, a tough task team-wide.
Ooh.
We are seeing a universal step up.
Look at the plan brewing over towards B main. Yeah, you're Sova gonna dart
push
A
on
like
mid.
normal. See if it's like an A storm so it can guide the herd. But other than that, I'm worried for this Killjoy. I'm worried for Kimi.
Kimi can live. Kimi is a passive lurker, so to speak. Doesn't really like to get too active until chaos starts to happen. Hold, so after turning out two, they have the opportunity to take all that mid space. And Abby will be the first responder in garage, but there's a like the perfect time. Sure, the trade is there from Abby, but at 22 HP, you need to hope that the push from CT can do something. They're out on the site, but Jen is there on the swing. The trade is good, but Jen and Danny can still get things done, and Lena can clean it up. UCSD back to the first to double digits, but this time there's a 7-round separation.
Ooh, now two things. One, I mean, what's 9-3? You win the pistol, then you have some copium, some hopium to go off of, right? Now you've got to possibly force because it's a 10-3, and SCC seeming to shy away from that idea. But also, I gotta point out, that was like so scrappy of a win from UCSD, right? Like, the players were all corralled, the default on site, you know, just trying to play the timing, and it all kind of aligned there. And then again, it's gonna come back to the basics, the fundamentals this squad that has stuck together has built up, right? Like, they essentially like culled the wave coming out of CT and then culled the remaining players from Garage, and that was clean. So what are they gonna do? Take the better weapons and try to repeat that success.
Exactly, we just repeat the exact success we had, except this time Kimi dies early. Who cares? We swing out of a smoke, we take care of the anchor as the next to fall, so numbers swing back into our favor, and then we can just play things out exactly like we did last round.
And in this time, the difference is this isn't scrappy. This is a clean setup, right? Like, they have the util in place. They have the traps for once they make contact. The players are spread out, set up crossfires. The flash, kind of dismantling it, but that's when you use the paranoia to prevent it. And ooh, Lena off position. Maybe giving hope to this round?
Player standing.
Maybe?
Jen versus Oppie, 1v1, distance.
No!
That's good work in the... Oh, what? That first one that SC has won in the... 9?
Ace.
Oh, and I'm so sorry, Angel.
Yeah.
The robotic celebration of the ace.
Oppie just went so insane that my connection died along with
Yeah.
everyone on UCSD. That's what
Like,
just
I think it has the same strength as DDoS. I talked about how,
Yeah.
like, you lose the 9-3 pistol, there's no hope. Well, Oppie just breathed the life into SCC. Look, full Vandals, an eco for UCSD. Like, if there's a round you're gonna look back at and say, wow, that went wrong, like, I have no clue what happened to Lena that they swung accidentally. And, like, we're looking long there. I don't know, but either way, SCC lived to see another day, lived to fight another day with weapons in hand. Now, if UCSD Thrifty is here, I'm gonna cry. But Riv, trying to prevent that early.
I mean, technically last round was a Thrifty, even though they didn't say it.
Yeah, because the A is superseded. But here we go. That's why they didn't force on a 10-3, I guess. They just trusted. Speaking of trust, Oppie going again for theatrics, going again for the montage clips. Finds 2, eco frags, hungry for more. Lena on the other side. Gets revenge from the last round, but with 20 HP, not much they can do in a 1v4 without even the weapon collected.
There's a chance, though, right?
There's always a chance. Especially the GC sheriff.
Oh yeah, they can scrap a kill together right now if they get like Abby here. So they get that kill. Abby's reswing just does one better. So that's SCC maintaining a stable 5th round.
All right. And that's what they needed, because then, again, money's flowing. You have a long road up against you. 5 more rounds just to tie. UCSD, back to a bye after losing up their force. So, the turn to normalcy between these two teams. I am going to be looking towards Oppie and this run it back, though. Didn't really get to find too much impact out of it. It felt like the first half. I think minus that one entry where they got the trade onto Danny and kind of solidified a clean post plant for the team. But again, we talked about how like we couldn't expect them to drop 40 every map. Well, a 9-3 comeback I think definitely gives them the opportunity to rack up those frags and make us liars. But for now, maybe a defaulted approach here from UCSD. Again, trying to break sentinel utility, trying to draw players off positions, and SCC not really budging. Look at this double line held up over towards A long. Finally, Riv disengages.
Yeah, instead they just move over, 1 long, 1 short. Let's hold a crossfire. Person gets to just jiggle. Eventually, the fault line will push the position away. So it's you know, the good old-fashioned jump spot long, jiggle peek short. Everyone is happy. We can turn around at a moment's notice and help the other. Classic.
This is a beautiful setup, though. The flash, the rotates, meeting head on. The reveal should be the death of Jen, and it eventually is. Someone trying to step up to be the hero. Danny was called upon, and Doggio answers instead.
30 seconds left.
I mean, if Doggio's alive, the round's never truly lost, but it's still a 2v3, and Spike has not been planted. No. No way.
Nina's trying to do as much as possible, but Oppie's there. From the heavens, strikes the Phoenix. 6th round is given.
UCSD. If you're not taking a timeout now, I hope you are next round. Like 10-6, you have 2 timeouts left. Things are starting to get dicier as the comeback mounts, right? We talked about how they were a defense-sided team. I think it's starting to show here yet again. Like, 2 stingers. I mean, maybe you try to do enough damage to get the ults online, and if you have a plan for those ults, then you don't need the timeout. Because again, you only need 3 more rounds here. Like, the ult cycle should provide you with 1 more, maybe. The plan is for Jen's knives instead, too. But, I mean, look at this. They already are there. Oppie's already CT, side by side with Abby. Like, how do you dismantle this? A stun, maybe? No, they've evaded that. Oh.
They've dodged it all, but
Spike
this
down.
3 site, 3 stack on the C site has done enough to repel the initial attention from UCSD. So you have to hope that Jen's Blade Storm can find some sort of value.
2.
And aside from just a tag to the body, nothing given. Now just 1 measly blade left. Big shot needed. Riv jump peeking. This round is quite a climb for UCSD trying to compete in.
Even if you get onto the C site, right? There's a crossfire because Spike is long. I think they have the right answer here. Trying to fight into CT, you had to find a player here. And they find the first, but now it's a 1v2. Stinger in hand. I was gonna say, if Riv held that close position, even now, a Stinger long range with this low HP, it's possible!
30 seconds
AKA
left.
nerf Stinger, but 30 seconds left. No info on where
Oh.
Maya is, and I said nerf Stinger, but even the Stinger has its long range limits. SCC 7 on the board.
And now things start to get scary for UCSD. So timeout taken.
Finally, I called it.
Perfect moment. Yeah, no, you did. UCSD at this point, it's a battle of nerves, right? You were up 10-3. We're at Fnatic levels of comeback potential. You don't want to lose any more than this. You have 2 really good ults in the Hunter's Fury and the Lockdown, and the key thing with this Lockdown from UCSD is there's no Hunter's Fury from St. Clair to answer this. So
Ooh. How close are they is the real question. I think they
5 out of
should
8?
be getting there, yeah. Like, there's a world of if they, like, fight aggressively, get some space, get the orb A main, which I think is what they've been doing every round without fail, is taking A main space with the Jet and the Sova. Talked about how, like, the speed in which they give up the line varies, but the speed in which they said establish it hasn't. Aside from that, though, UCSD, they're not really... I'm trying to figure out what the problem has been. I do think it's actually, like, I don't think they've been getting the spike done enough, right? We talked about the 2 rounds that they did. Like, one of them was super scrappy. They won it just by sheer luck and the internal clocks meshing between them. And then, like, they had a clean setup right on the C site, and somehow Oppi's heroics dismantle it, right? So, and then since then, they really haven't gotten good hold of the site, it felt like. Beyond maybe the A site, where again, they didn't have optimal weapons, and we talked about Oppi raining down from the heavens onto Doggia, who again was asking for heroics. So, at a fundamental level, minus baseline communications on a pistol, it hasn't been there for the attack for UCSD. Oh. And this was the counter SCC tried to make, right? But the real answer for UCSD was to go towards the B site off rip for this round. And this is interesting. Look at the speed in which they disengaged from it and are going for a re-hit here. And SCC, they haven't been shaken up by this.
No, SCC, you know, they've obviously pulled the rotation over, Oppi now being that B-side holder, but it doesn't seem like they're in panic mode just yet. It does seem that the protocols have been put in place. You know, now side gen. Buys a little bit of time. It doesn't work out. Instead, it's Doggio to get that kill. They dodge the hot hands. Jen finds Oppi, and now a 2 versus 5 retake needed from Riv.
Yeah. I mean, you got money for a buy after this, but this was clean. We talked about how all the previous times they went for that C hit, right? Oppi was always there to help Abby, right? To get the refrags, to add the additional pressure. And this time they weren't because of that more kind of countered timeout play of putting Oppi in that aggressive trap over towards the A site, which only found a little bit of chip damage. It didn't even find a kill. And so now, Riv, maybe the money is shyer than I thought, going for the save here while Marsley was playing for those exits because, again, UCSD's economy is fragile. Since this is the first round after the pistol, this half won. And aside from that, UCSD, did they find the answer?
They definitely found an answer, but I don't know if it's necessarily replicable. We'll have to see going into these next couple rounds. The save was mildly interesting, but when you look at the money, it makes total sense that Riv is looking to drop that Vandal over to a teammate to pick up the op for themselves. As we see 3 players strong towards this A-side hold, and UCSD is walking into a massacre.
Oh no. We'll see if the shots align for Riv. That's the question here. And then about the dynamic between the Phoenix and the Jet. Well, what happens when they're both on the same site as well? Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Okay, dog, you.
right. Never mind.
You should run.
I was wrong about who was massacring who. There's the lockdown coming through. Hunter's Fury not invested. Instead, it's a B site hit. And Maya is
But they're gonna fight into A-Link here.
they want to fight because they want that kill, and Maya crouched behind
No
the crate,
way.
able to survive being detained in the 5v4, and they have all those ultimates. They have the runabout. They're not dead yet. Ready to be committed. Oppi starting the entry pathing in onto the site as it's a full hold to the main for UCSD.
This is hard.
Utility starting to get burned away. Starting to get ticked down. Paranoia used as well. A smoke on the spike that's not yet stuck. Danny first to open things up. Hunter's Fury comes in. Marsley's tagged up, but sticking all the way. They get it defused. The Hunter's Fury was just too late. UCSD, despite getting all the kills, the round is not converted.
Wow, and I want to say that SCC just gave UCSD a taste of their own medicine from the double controller comp and the diffuses that we saw over on Lotus, but what a time for it to come through. After UCSD, we talked about replicability. They were getting sites, they were getting clean and developed post plants. I think B site was definitely a question mark when there was that much utility to throw around on the side of SCC, but they thought they had the more thorough utility, right? With the shocks, with the swarm grenades, with the aftershock, with Hunter's Fury, and you mentioned it, the gap in timing, their ultimate downfall. And now, again, another opportunity to close the gap for SCC, but Riv again, talk about them getting massacred last round. Well, they lived to tell the tale, but for how long this round?
My ult's not ready. Spike drop.
Riv, unfortunately, the legs were showing just a little bit too much on that little updraft play in short. So spammed down to a considerably low margin of 40 HP.
All right. The rebound towards C, opened up by Kumi. Can they recognize the second? Doesn't seem to be the case. And the missed timing from Long or the perfect timing? No. They cut noise. They didn't realize. Oppie not traded out here complicates things. The site smoke sprung. 45 seconds left. The repivot to A because those two players have waltzed on undetected. At this point, do you drop the spike? Do you let your Omen ult to get it? No. They're gonna go aggressive instead. That TP likely heard. I'm hoping Riv's rallying the troops back. Yep, here it is before plant gets called. A little bit more time gained now for this post-plant retake.
Lina not deterred. Will stick it and cost them their life. Danny, in her own smokes, gets that kill onto Riv, and the paranoia just to buy time. Shadow step used.
Ooh, I like the fake.
Fake. Are they aware? There's the swing. Danny falls to Marsley, and now a 2 versus 3. Curveball's used. Player. It's all stand, but Jen still finds the kill on Maya, and now as Doggio falls, it's all up to Jen. 1 versus 1. 11 HP, and it's fall damage that does it. Oh, that's tragic. And UCSD at series point.
Not like this! Not the 9-3 comeback thwarted by gravity. Like, I mean, this is when you want replays, because I'm like, did Oppie have a wall? Did Oppie have a hot hands? Was there anything they could have done to heal before dropping? Or did they just not realize their HP line and the team's yelling at them like, you need to go for the box, you're gonna die! And 11 HP, you know, 4 HP of a difference. 5, I should say, between a possible clutch and not. And now UCSD, look, money, those big ticket ults, a scattered buy for SCC. I think I saw 3 Guardians. I don't know, this could be the beginning of the end, Ancient.
What they'd like you to believe, but they're 1 C-site retake away from losing this series 2-0. Cunie's lurk gets taken out by Oppie. Once again, besting the Sentinel of UCSD.
Ooh.
They need to use the numbers to their advantage, but look at Lina's position. That gets immediately sniped away by Riv. Firmly in the St. Clair hands. As the run back gets used, it draws attention away from the impending hit out of UCSD. The fall is there. Maya and Oppie taking one apiece, and that leaves it all up to Doggio, and nothing gets found off the back of it. St. Clair, despite the troubles, despite the fall from grace that Oppie had in the last round, they hold. And it's the rest of the team to convert the round after.
You hit them with the fall from grace. That's diabolical. But no, I think SCC there, what they leveraged was full, like, ultimate awareness from UCSD. Did you see how deep they were in spawn? Fully expecting a play like that from UCSD off of that Rolling Thunder, right? None of them impacted by it. They flip utilizing the run it back, that entire play to kind of pinch the players in CT and start fragging back with those, kind of like I mentioned, suboptimal weapons, but the Guardians like that, long range, work out. And, I mean, UCSD did a good job, I think, recoiling back into the site, but, again, Oppie staying alive as long as they did, playing their life there, kind of disrupted everything. So they couldn't do that, like, minute focus distribution like we saw on the pistol round that won them a C-side post-plant. So, 3 to go for OT. UCSD still looks like they have a minute buy in hand. Do they clear this corner is the first question.
Corner's cleared by Jen. I was thinking potentially of timing with smoke. Oppie's position, advance towards A long to frag back with one looking for another as well. The utility has to rely on the swing from Riv, and that's enough. But Doggio immediately opening up that C-site with that kill onto Abby. Marsley can get Jen all they want, but the plant is still ready to go through, but they don't commit it yet. They want another pick, and eventually they're gonna have to give something away. Lina's hunting for it, hungry for another frag, as both of these players are now corralled in towards Riv, trying to get the swing, able to take it, looking for one more, and gets it. St. Clair, they're not giving up just yet. They're ready to claw back into this game.
And I mean, that was a smart play from UCSD, right? You're struggling in the post plants, right? So you want to find at least a 2v2 situation. You probably got the comm as well that one of the SCC members is low HP, so you're trying to locate that individual in particular, but ultimately, just when individual players are hitting their shots like that, it's boiled down to an FPS game at the end of the day. Riv, clean 2-piece, closes things out, gets them to double digits here. And this, I don't like this half buy from UCSD. This is how you punish yourself into an overtime. Because that 11th round's not going to be a good buy. But if you win it all now, it doesn't matter. So let's see.
It's basically a full buy if you count that Blade Storm, but Jen has to find value off of it. That's the key. Trapwire does get taken away by that classic.
No way.
Hunter's Fury is available, but Lena's already gone, so that's the first set of utility gone. Thankfully, Kimi is able to take care of a flanking Oppie as fast as possible. Stuck in on the site is Danny, spammed away, but there's Jen, quick on the trade. Jumps back through the smoke. That's a little bit of time. Smoke will allow them to re-engage, but both of them Killjoy Molly, they're both used. They delay. Now there's the tap. Hunter's Fury now burns. Doggio coming towards this side. There's the swing from Jen, but it gets taken care of. Riv falls.
Not
That
again.
means that it's a 1v2.
Not
Yumi
again.
sticking, spams, and gets it done. UCSD, by the power of sheer sprays, secures it and locks it in. It's a 2-0, 13-10, both maps for UCSD.
But such different storylines, right? Like, from SCC up at the half on their map pick 7-5 to a battled close end of a 13-10 to a 9-3 comeback thwarted by UCSD to win their map pick. Like, it shows the mastery UCSD has over the defensive half on multiple maps and the work they have to put in for their attack, have to get rounds, and hopefully moving forward in Aurora series. But that is a huge victory, mind you. I talked about it. UCSD Navy, a team that was snubbed playoffs the last Aurora series season, now taking out, I want to say, our third place victor, either way, a top 4 team of Aurora series last semester. And this is a team again that made changes to hopefully improve upon that standing, and now they've lost to a team that they didn't prior. So this is very, very great improvement seen. I'm now scared of UCSD's Haven defense personally, but aside from that, I mean, stats, they don't even matter. Like, we saw finally, I think, both teams giving it their all. There wasn't, I think, like, 2 standalone kind of like players. I think Doggio put in the work for sure. We saw, I think, Kimi step up in particular really nicely on Haven as well. Like, it was just back and forth, at least for Haven in the second half, we'll put it.
Yeah, I will say Oppie really trying to do the most there for that team to keep them in that game. You know, we talk about the fall from grace, haha, fall damage kill, unlucky, but you know, it really was a game that was constantly on a knife's edge, and it just so happened that the teamwork and the fundamentals that UCSD was able to put together today, it gave them that lead. And like you mentioned, this is a huge boon for the rest of the group stage, because this is a lot of pressure off your backs. This is a lot of, you know, boost in the standings. They have potential now really to be first out of this group. And you know, we mentioned stats don't matter, but you still want to, let's talk about it. Oppie almost getting 30 kills in a game where they didn't have 10 for the first 8 rounds almost. This is insane. And also you have to remember, Oppie was the only player to have a positive KD on their entire team.
Yeah, I mean, that number 1's rough. Number 2, we talked about the Jen swap from Clove to Jet. That felt right at home. I think Alina definitely played heavy support around Jen, which was that translation I was talking about. I think Doggio was definitely the more unexpected factor in our conversion, right? We talked about how they were like one of the players that did maintain roles, but complete swap up in the energy. Like, this is their agent, and we saw it for a reason. And I mean, SCC, again, their creativity, I can see the potential between, especially the Lotus comp they ran and this one here as well. But again, a little bit back to the drawing board, and it will come out swinging in future group stage matches.
Yeah, I mean, what a match is really what I can say. And I think the thing that sucks the most about the scoreline is you're gonna look at that and you're gonna say, oh, it was a 2-0, but like, not only, and you know, oh, it was a 2-0, oh, you know, they were 13-10s, they could have been closer, but like, some of those rounds were literally one person alive. We had a good stretch of 5-6 rounds in a row on some of those maps, like, where it was one person alive on either side for the entire series.
And again, we saw that impact that had too. Like, I think it was, what was it, the first half in particular? Like, yes, it was a 9-3, but I think there was like, when it was sitting at like a 1-5 or 1-6, and they lost their first round, like for UCSD, they couldn't buy because of how close SCC was consistently making it. So it is unfortunate that, like you mentioned, people will see it as a 2-0. You know, I think 13-10, 13-10 shows it was a respectful battle that could have gone either way for both of these teams, but 9-3 also scarring. But regardless, really good showing for both of these teams. A really great first broadcast, I would say, of the season as well. Like, I was going through my list of teams to stream, and I'm like, it's a crime if this one does not get broadcasted. And we saw why.
Yeah, I mean that was intense. So, but like you mentioned, it was the first broadcast of the season, and we have so many more games throughout the rest of this semester to be broadcasting live here on twitch.tv/Aurora Series GG. But
And that, yeah, does bring our show for the evening to a close. So shout out to you, Angel, for coming on. Shout out to behind the scenes tonight. We had Reached Out Observing. We had Peaches on the Observer slot. And it has been a blast, Ancient. Anything else that you would like to say before we wind down?
Nothing too crazy other than, again, congratulations to UCSD for that pickup, that big win. Commiserations to SCC. You know, I hope they can come back stronger in the coming weeks, and we'll be able to see this rematch in playoffs, because what a treat for the first broadcast.
Yep, and with that, we'll see you next Thursday for another round of Aurora Series Group Stage.